It was 17. It's an incredible shrinking price tag. At some point has said it is unknowable to even see what
so
the
he's
price
ripping
tag
at
would
Bernie.
be. Now there are new numbers going. I'll tell you exactly what it adds up to. It adds up to 4 more years of Donald Trump, Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House, and the inability to get the Senate into Democratic hands. The time has come for us to stop acting like the presidency is the only office that matters. Not only is this a way to get Donald Trump reelected, we got a House to worry about. We got a Senate to worry about. And this is really important. Look, if you want to keep the House in Democratic hands, you might want to check with the people who actually turned the House blue. 40 Democrats who are not running on your platform. They are running away from your platform as fast as they possibly can.
He's talking to Bernie.
I want to send those Democrats back to the United States House. Let's listen to them when they say that they don't want to be out there defending Senator Sanders.
All right, so that's Bernie. I'm sorry, that's Buttigieg, Pete Buttigieg, going after Sanders, saying that his platform is so extreme that it's just going to mean defeat for many of the Democrats currently in the House of Representatives. Joining us now, Miles Christian from Madison, Wisconsin. He's with Wisconsin International Radio. Miles, what did you think of the debate yesterday?
It was definitely the most interesting debate, and I was actually able to watch the whole thing live on YouTube, which, like I said, the access to these debates have been terrible. They should all be broadcast on C-SPAN. They should all be easy to find, and it's been really difficult to watch these debates, just to find them. And actually, on top of it, most Americans I talk to, completely apathetic, aren't watching them at all. They might not even like Trump, but they're not watching the debates. Most of them, that is.
Did Pete win it yesterday, or was it more was it a case of Sanders, currently the front runner, just beating off attack after attack by the likes of Warren and Pete?
Well, what's really, really, really funny is at one point, Bloomberg actually said, I swear to God, he actually said, I can't believe you all were going to debate me since I beat you so badly last week. I mean, every single attack that was made against Bloomberg, from his NDAs and women, the way he treated women to the racism, every time they bring up some attack on Bloomberg, he flips it around and does this like Hillary Clinton style double speak where like, no, it's a good thing. I was great at this, not bad at this. And so it's like, what?
How was Bernie last night? I heard he was, I didn't catch it, but I heard he was not as sharp as he has been in the past.
Yeah, I didn't really see much out of Bernie. What was very surprising was that Biden seemed a lot more alert and awake, and he wasn't stumbling, and he was making jokes here and there. And I'm certainly not a fan of Biden, but he definitely came off more likable, I think, this time around. And he really went to war with Tom Steyer over Steyer's, I guess Steyer had ownership in a private prison company at one point. So you really saw Biden really wake up for this debate.
Oh, it's a little too late, though, for Biden. I mean, here's the guy who brought Deng Xiaoping back to life since the guy's been dead since '94 or whatever. The past premier or leader of or dictator in China. But I guess Bernie was taking some heat over his fawning over dictatorships, right? I mean, the fact that he's.
They're all trying to stop Bernie right now as best as they can. And like I said, I really do think it's very likely, it's very possible that the DNC might go into a brokers convention or whatever it's called, where they'll decide the candidate at the convention. I mean, definitely 2016 showed us that the votes in these primaries do not matter to the Democratic Party. And they definitely have an agenda to stop Bernie. That doesn't mean that Bernie is a good guy or that his policies are good. He might be right on a problem. It's his solution, which is absolutely terrible.
Despite the fact that Sanders may not have had his best performance, there was a CBS News poll of Democratic voters who watched the debate. Debate voters said that national frontrunner Sanders impressed them the most of any candidate, followed by Biden and then Warren. So Bernie was at 45%. Biden was number 2 at 43. So a very good day, as you say, to your point, Miles, for Biden. Warren was at 40. Mayor Pete was at 38%. Amy Klobuchar, 31. Then Bloomberg at 25, and then Steyer at 24. So, boy, Bloomberg, he was the guy who looked like he was had a head of steam behind him, the wind in his sails. He was going to overtake Bernie, and now he's right way back in the pack. Well,
he can spend as much money as he wants. In the end, it's not equaling votes. Elizabeth Warren, it was interesting. She made that lie again about basically being fired for being pregnant, which I thought this had been, disproven months ago. But she talked about pregnancy discrimination as if she had been fired for being pregnant. It's like, no, you left the job. There's many conflicting reports about that.
Yeah, what is it with her and the truth? They just seem to be, she seems to have a big problem telling the truth. There's the whole thing about being part Cherokee, and she's just become
she lied about sending her kids to private school, or did she send them to public school? It's depending on the audience she's speaking to, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what's the deal? Now we've got to Trump. He's asking for he wants a news conference. He's going to have a news conference at 6 o'clock Eastern today. He wants to talk about coronavirus. He's worried that the Democrats are exploiting coronavirus as a way to undermine the economy and to try and hurt his chances to get reelected. I think the Democrat Party, they would cheer for the bubonic plague. They would cheer for World War III, anything to destroy Trump's, reelection chances. What do you think we're going to hear from the president this evening?
I think that, either side would be willing to use this in some ways for political gain. I definitely think Democrats would use this coronavirus problem as a way to, fear people into voting for them. They're going to say that they have a better solution taking care of it. As many problems as I have with Donald Trump, I don't necessarily think he's a type of authoritarian that would actually use this to gain more power. But a very interesting point that I told my friend yesterday is that thanks to Bush and Obama, he could literally declare martial law and postpone elections because of a thing like this. If he declared a national emergency on his own, thanks to executive orders and congressional bills passed under the previous 2 administrations. We gave insane amounts of power under the last 2 administrations. We haven't seen Trump do much to, say, undo like the Patriot Act or the NDAA. We haven't seen him undo those things, but we also haven't seen him expand government power the way the last 2 presidents did.
And for all the talk that Trump is the dictator, he in fact is a lot less scary than a guy like Bloomberg. Lord no, who really does have the tyrant gene. That guy scares me as much as anybody. But here's Trump's tweet from earlier today. Low ratings, fake news, MSDNC and CNN are doing everything possible to make the coronavirus look as bad as possible, including panicking markets if possible. Likewise, their incompetent, do-nothing Democrat comrades are all talk and no action. USA is in great shape. So he's trying to talk up the economy, and I guess stocks are back up today. But I guess he's worried that if this thing does start to spread, it's going to undermine his chances come November.
Yeah, it's almost kind of funny that Amy Klobuchar last night in the debate almost said something about the person who's going to find the cure for the coronavirus is some student somewhere. It's like, oh, do you mean like the free market might be able to find a scientist that can, deal with this thing?
Yeah, absolutely. These are the same people who seem to advocate a bigger state, a bigger role for government. How much bigger do you want it in the United States? Up here, it's just become a nightmare. We're losing our economy. We're hemorrhaging thousands of jobs, and companies are leaving here to go to the United States. I'm sure that some of those job numbers that Trump has been bragging about are largely due to the fact that investment has been leaving Canada and going south of the border because we have a Nimrod as prime minister. Roger Stone. So what's the deal? So he was convicted, and so he's in jail now, and so we're still waiting for Trump to what? To pardon him?
I guess that Trump gets reelected. I could see that as a very strong possibility. I mean, it was President Bush who commuted the sentence of Scooter Libby, and you heard very little about that. Scooter Libby, did a lot more criminal stuff than what Roger Stone supposedly did. I think Roger Stone's looking at something like 3 to 4 years in jail. And, the other one that no one's really talking about is that Trump actually recently pardoned and released Rod Blagojevich, the former governor of
Illinois,
who was a Democrat.
Yeah, I don't get that one at all. I guess there must have been buds, but I guess Obama had a fetish for drug dealers, right? He seemed to like commuting their sentences. I don't know. Very, very. It's interesting how presidents have that power to just say, you know what, you're out of jail.
Yeah,
that's
and then governors also have a similar power, and we have a governor here in Wisconsin who's really done nothing. He kind of got people thinking that maybe he would help for criminal justice reform, and he said that a governor here, Tony Evers, has basically said he will pardon people after they're done serving their sentence.
Okay, so they don't have a criminal record anymore. Is that this? So after you've done your time. Well, I just hope that Roger Stone isn't Jeffrey Epstein, you just never know. I mean, look what happened there.
A much bigger case in relation to that, that's not being discussed in these debates or anything like that at all, is the whole story of Julian Assange. I mean,
yes.
Who knows? Will he be extradited to the United States? What's going to go on there? I'd be much more afraid of what's going to happen to Julian Assange than Roger Stone.
Yeah, that's true. And if anybody was responsible for helping Trump get elected the first time around, it's Assange, right? Releasing all those nasty little tidbits about Hillary and Ukraine.
And they're doing it all over again. They're blaming Russia for the fact that they're going to lose this election. And it's like Russia is not actually changing the actual vote. If they're making memes, if they're trying to influence the election in some way, they're not. Because, there's probably a dozen countries supporting people and trying to influence in one way or another. But in the end, people are going to go vote, sadly, for one of two parties usually, but there are actually 4 parties, and you've got independent candidates on top of that. But this whole idea that Russia is going to help Trump get reelected is so stupid, and they're doing it all over again.
Yeah, Hillary's back on it again. She's totally either delusional. I think it's the old thing about repeat the same lie over and over again, and people will believe it.
I talk to people and they're like, I heard Russia's going to try to affect the election again. It's like, who said this? CNN, the people who lied us into Iraq war and all these other conflicts. Are you going to believe these news medias that lie to us again and again and again because they happen to support the political party of your persuasion? It doesn't make any sense.
All right, Miles, listen, thank you so much. Really appreciate this, as always.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Miles Kristen from Wisconsin International Radio coming to us from Madison in the great state of Wisconsin. Not too far from Canada, just south of the border. Back with more, our final scintillating segment on this midweek edition of the Marc Patrone Radio program coming your way after this.